ホームコースの重要さにいつの間にか自分で気がついてやがる。
Let me explain what the hell's going on here. This is a Togue battle, as you've probably guessed, but what's important is that the Prelude in front is not a local to the road. As far as driver skill is concerned, he is more than familiar with canyon roads and how to approach them. You may recognize the Prelude. It's the same one from previous videos. I would say that any skill gap between us isn't enough to make the biggest difference for this run. If I'm leading on this road with the Mark 6 Golf or better, I would make it challenging for him to keep up. But on the other hand, when he's leading on his home course, he ends up gapping me within 2 to 3 minutes. But as I mentioned, this is the road I'm most familiar with, but the Prelude is leading. So what gives?
Oh, can you turn your interior light on your side there? Yeah, thank you. Perfect settings.
I know that in Initial D, a non-local will lead despite not having that extensive course knowledge, but in real life it's very uncommon. In this case, he's leading because the car I'm driving is absurdly slower. It may not look like it on camera, but I'm pushing this Hyundai Accent to its absolute limit, and it's still a pig. If you look at the specs on paper, it has a weight advantage, but the stopping distance is still more than the Prelude because of its harder brake compound and smaller surface area. It also has rear drum brakes, which was constantly getting heat soaked throughout the night. Usually I'd practice brake management because it's about a 9-minute run, but this time I said screw it because if I can't keep up, I might as well threshold brake till the end. It was only a matter of time until the front discs were glowing red and literally steaming. But hey, at least they didn't catch on fire like the Chrysler Pacifica. It's a similar story with the tires. The small contact patch doesn't give much grip to work with.
Oh, it's so slow.
It's so slow, yeah,
it's
I know.
So slow.
I know.
Most of my errors happened during the trail braking phase, where I would ease off the brakes while making the initial turn-in for the smaller radius turns. I was focusing on getting a good exit speed rather than having a straight path for accelerating.
You know why? It's because I'm trail braking too heavy. I'm asking too much for the tires. Just brake in a straight line.
The issue was that the grip level got progressively lower as tire pressure and temperature increased with each quartering load. In hindsight, I should have taken into account that the small tire volume caused the pressure to increase even faster. But let's move on, since I could be talking about tire deflection all day and that's not fun.
Man, sorry viewers for being sloppy. This is...
As for the transmission, yes, it's automatic, and yes, it's terrible. In fact, it's so abysmal that I didn't want anything to do with it, so my co-driver did the shifting instead.
Shit.
Leave it. I think we do it.
Okay, so what happened there was my mic fell into the footwell and I had to deal with that for a second, and then it stopped recording, so we had to troubleshoot it for a bit. Anyways, as I was saying, so my co-driver did the shifting instead. This clearly isn't common, and it can be even a hindrance since the driver can't anticipate the weight transfer associated with shifting. But in this case, the co-driver knew the road well enough to find an appropriate shifting time. The benefit of having him shift outweighed the negatives, since I could concentrate on important things like setting up for consecutive corners and not dying.
Actually, if you just hold the mic... Okay, and then can you check, is it still recording on like the little thingy there? Are the numbers going?
No.
Okay, can you push record? Yeah, they're slowly gaining distance.
It's not turning on.
Hold one of the buttons until it turns on.
Unlike a manual transmission, automatics can be wildly unpredictable, especially in Hyundai's case. If you don't know what gear it will be in during corner exit, it's tricky setting up for it in the first place. The one silver lining to the shit cloud of a vehicle is that I can left foot brake the whole time, but it didn't really make a big difference in this case. Okay, I realize that it's a bit redundant to talk about how bad an economy sedan is for racing, but I know that drivers watching this will be interested in the issues that come up with this type of car. It also illustrates how much a home course advantage can help. As you can see in this case, it's still not enough.
Honestly, if this car had better tires, it wouldn't be so bad.
But that's mainly because of the disparity between the performance of the Accent and Prelude. The disadvantages of not knowing a road is is still a challenge faced by people willing to drive outside their home course. The biggest thing is approaching corners with a lack of visual cues, especially at night. On a racetrack, it's not an issue because there are usually no hillsides or crests that obstruct the corner exits. In the case that there are, like Laguna Seca Corkscrew, it's fine since that corner is going to be repeated in less than 2 minutes. In this case, there are about 96 corners going in a single direction rather than say 11 corners on Seca. So if there aren't enough sessions, the driver has to approach the mountain pass by looking at the big picture rather than trying to perfect every corner.
Transmission, please, what's up?
This includes understanding the types of corners that a particular road will have, as well as knowing the visual cues that go along with it. For example, on roads with a center dividing line, the driver can look at the tangency of the line going into a corner, or how fast it slopes into the corner. A quick change in direction may indicate that a later apex should be taken. On roads like these, with no center line, there are other cues like the reflector sticks on the cliffside. But even with all this help, it doesn't protect the driver from one of the biggest hazards in canyon driving, which is the decreasing radius turn. A driver may enter a corner assuming it's the correct speed, only to find out that the exit path is even sharper than expected. If there's not enough grip allocated to change direction mid-corner, it would most likely end up in a crash. That's why the safest option is to take a late apex for every unknown corner.
Yep, blind. Yep. Oh.
Too early of a turn in there. I read the reflector sticks wrong.
Slowing down for the corner entrance gives more options for which angle you'd want to exit. However, in many cases, it's not the fastest approach, since it kills any speed that can be carried. It's especially true on this road where there are complex sections with the exit of one corner influencing the entrance of the next one, and so forth. Basically, the takeaway from this is that road knowledge is important, but clearly a 10-minute video wasn't needed to say that. It's important to have at least one road or track to be extensively familiar with when practicing vehicle dynamics. If I were to learn this Hyundai Accent on a new road, that's too many factors to concentrate on at once. It's also important to explore new roads. It doesn't even need to be that fast. Your brain essentially has a database of all the corners you've driven, whether you can recall them or not. When driving in unfamiliar territory, that database will help you determine what to expect next. I believe the reason why the Prelude driver did well on this run is because he's driven so many roads, rather than just sticking to one like most drivers do. Anyways, that's all I have to say for now. If you have anything to add, let me know in the comments.
The issue with using the brakes to help rotate this car is that I ask for the tires too much every single time, and then I pay the price later on in the run, like right now. Oh man, horrible exit. I thought I would have been in a higher rev, that's why. This is why transmission is such a big deal. But I know you're doing the best you can for the time being. Yeah.
I'll tell you about later.
I'd also like to know if I should do more voiceover videos or just stick to the text format. For those interested, the run in the opposite direction is already uploaded as the mystery car battle. Thank you for subscribing and watching.
Perfect, wow. Amazing.
No, it's very hard to shift this car perfectly into the corner because you're entering at a high speed.
Jesus Christ. Do you think this was angled correctly?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Man, that's amazing. Could I take a look at this? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Because believe it or not, the reason why I couldn't downshift.
No! The numbers have to go to record, so it wasn't.
Oh,
It's okay, don't worry about it.
It was blinking.
No, if
No?
it blinks, then it's not going, which
Oh,
is really
damn.
confusing.
Oh,
but
damn.
it's
Okay,
fine. We
yeah.
have this.
Sorry.
遠征行くと知らないコースだろう。新しいコースの攻略だけで精一杯で他のことを考える余裕がないから。こんな風に思ったの